Hey everyone, so I'm deep into my C3 makeover and right now I'm in the middle of the engine build, and I thought I'd put together a video which details which parts are most important for a performance street build. We're going to rank the topics shown on their ability to create horsepower. So for example, let's say we had a 100 horsepower engine. Would an aftermarket exhaust give you 5% of that power, or 5 horsepower? Or is it responsible for closer to 20%, or 20 horsepower? As for the topics, first we're going to review displacement, which is how big the engine is. Next we're going to look at the camshaft, which opens and closes the valves on the cylinder head. Third, we're going to look at the cylinder head, and that has the combustion chamber cast into it, and it flows gas in and out of the cylinders. And last, we're going to look at the intake and exhaust manifolds. A quick disclaimer here. Keep in mind I made these rankings for a typical street performance engine, and depending on application, you might rank things a little differently. For instance, if we took a low RPM diesel engine you might find on a tractor, its performance likely favors displacement more than a street car would. Even so though, displacement is still king when it comes to making horsepower in a street car. The other concepts I'm going to touch on in this video will never match the performance gains you'll see just by using an engine that can suck more air through it. This is because almost all performance improvements made on an internal combustion engine are by optimizing airflow through the engine, and if you just use a larger engine to begin with, by nature you're going to move more air. When it comes to turbos and superchargers, they're typically lumped in with displacement, and that's because when you force air through an engine, it's really the same as just running a bigger one. I'm going to estimate that 50% of the power potential that your engine has comes directly from the displacement. The engine I chose for my C3 makeover is actually just an upgraded version of what came in the car, and that's a Chevrolet 350. This engine has been around a long time. It's been used in millions of cars and trucks, and I think it's safe to say that LS would have never happened had it not been for its grandfather, the small block Chevy. Now when I say upgraded version of a 350, what do I mean? And it's pretty simple. It's a stronger 4-bolt main engine block, and the rotating assembly is made of forged steel. The stock 2-bolt 350 you might find in your average car or truck is still a great foundation for a performance build. I'm just playing it safe and being conservative by buying the ZZ4 bottom end. Let's move on to the next section, which is always a tough decision for me, and that's which camshaft should I buy? When you're building an engine for power, you're going to want to understand the load profile of your camshaft. So let's take a look at this example on the left. The cam profile on top is going to open the valve slower and will be at max lift for less amount of time than the cam profile on the bottom. So what's the difference and what does it mean for your engine? Well, if the valves are open longer and they open faster, conceivably you're going to flow more air and fuel into the cylinder and you should make more power. Another attribute of load profile is camshaft lift, and I think everyone gets this one. The more you open a valve, the more gas and air that can flow into the cylinder and make more power for you. Intake and exhaust vents are spaced by the lobe separation angle, and if we keep things simple, peak horsepower and torque is made at a lower RPM the tighter the lobe separation angle is. I'm ranking camshaft power potential at 15%, and here's why. The camshaft is merely a door. It's not going to do much to help flow, it's just going to keep your valves open a little longer or open them a little wider to help that flow into your cylinders. The camshaft I chose for my short block is a Comp Cam's Extreme Energy 276 grind. And this cam is probably right on the edge of something that's streetable, but it does have a wide lobe separation angle. It's 112 degrees, and that's going to give me some extra vacuum because my Corvette's going to need it given it runs off so many vacuum accessories. When it comes to lifter selection, you're not going to unlock any power picking one type over another. But some of the more aggressive load profiles that we just talked about require roller lifters. This is because the more aggressive ramp profiles and spring pressures, they put more stress on the valve train. So if you used a flat lifter, it would basically gouge itself into the side of the cam and run it flat. Now even if you choose a mellow cam load profile, you're still going to want to invest in roller lifters. This is because flat lifters just don't hold up well with today's motor oils, so do yourself a favor and just invest in these up front. On that note, another area to invest in up front is definitely the cylinder heads. High level, there's 3 different ways that cylinder heads help your engine make power. The first of which is the material that they're made of. So aluminum cylinder heads allow you to add a little extra timing because they cool better, so there's less chance of detonation. Obviously they're lighter weight too, and I think most people agree that's a good thing. Next, the combustion chamber design is going to help determine compression ratio and how efficiently the air-fuel mixture burns in the cylinder. So you'll see some gains here from one design to the next, but typically it's not going to be significant. Where more significant power gains can be found though is in the cylinder head ports. Let me explain. Because your engine is essentially a large air pump, we need to optimize flow if we're going to make more power, so the engine doesn't need to work as hard to get air in and out of the cylinders. You might ask yourself, why not make the ports as big as possible? That's got to help, right? Well, it would seem that would be the case, but you're going to lose port velocity if you take that route. And we need port velocity of the air charge going into the cylinders to have a good mid-range. Otherwise, that motor's not going to make any power until you hit the upper power band. I'm ranking cylinder head power potential at 25%. And that's because a typical aftermarket head that flows better than factory can oftentimes add over 100 horsepower, and that's significant, especially for a street-driven car. For my build, I used a set of blueprint aluminum cylinder heads with 195cc intake runners. Now that intake port size is getting pretty big for a 350, and the mid-range might suffer a little bit. But up high I should gain some power, the car is lightweight, and it has gears too, so I'm going to give it a try. Now a side note, if there's one reason why LS motors are so good, it's the cathedral port cylinder heads that flow insane amounts of air straight from the factory. This is why you can run a small cam and still make big power with these motors. Alright, it's time to move on to everyone's favorite topic, which is upgrades to the intake and exhaust. To make power with intake and exhaust manifold upgrades, you really want to think of these parts as extensions of the cylinder head, and not just a bolt-on component. This is because on paper, most aftermarket intake and exhaust systems do flow better, but if you don't take the time to port match when you install them, you could lose out on some of the gains. What port matching is reducing or eliminating any kind of mismatch between the intake and exhaust manifolds and the cylinder head. The reason you want to do this? Well, any kind of mismatch inhibits airflow, and when we inhibit airflow, you lose power. It's worth mentioning that the performance characteristics are different between single and dual plane intakes, and the header tube diameter chosen can impact your torque curve, but we're not going to get into that in this video. Now, even with an optimized intake and exhaust, the performance gains you're going to see are likely modest, and I'm going to rank power potential at 10%. This is because the main bottleneck is always going to be at the cylinder head in the valve region. And that's why pocket porting even stock heads can sometimes yield significant power gains. Before we tally the final numbers, I want to make one other comment. There are a lot of performance parts I didn't touch on, which definitely have their place in a performance build, but might not add a lot of power. These are parts like electric water and fuel pumps, ignition, roller rockers, maybe jets for your carb. You can make a long list of parts that fall in this category. Alright, we have arrived at 100%, and now that you've watched this, I'd like to know what you think. Are my numbers close, or are they way off, and I've disqualified myself from future employment at Jiffy Lube? Yeah, that'd be sad, wouldn't it? Coming up next time, I picked up a bolt-in 5-speed conversion for my C3 made by Silver Sport Transmissions. So I'm going to get started on the conversion and we'll see how it goes. Alright, well that's all I got for today, so why don't you leave me a comment, let me know what you think, and thanks for watching.